Hi, everybody. Welcome to the IC Topic Chats for today. It is June. Look, it's June 5th. Holy cow. When did that happen? Well, June 5th is this is the first Thursday of June, which means we're doing a core topic, as you can see up on the screen here. I guess it would be, am I doing it right? Is it right down there? I'm a little confused where I am relative to everything. Anyway, the core topic is business planning. This is a session we like to do every June because I don't know, we decided to do that and we've just never changed our minds. But we do a core topic every month. Um, Last month, we did one on what kind of a business should you set up? Should you be a sole proprietor or be an S corp or things like that? We've done it on finance. We do it on niche. We do or niche. We do it on why be a consultant. I can remember our October one is always on contracts, KPIs, these sorts of things. But this month, it's about business planning. Um, and let me see here. I've got, you probably see this stuff popping up. I don't have this set up very well. I have I'm going to drop this in the, well, I will drop a link after I finish with the presentation so you can see what I'm going to be sharing with you. But I do have some templates for you. And the templates, let's see, I might actually be able to get to this. Let's do this kind of quick here. But I had this all prepared ahead of time. Okay, well, anyway, we're not going to get to it right now. I do have some templates that I'm going to share with you guys. I'm going to show them to you in the shared screen here, but I have this business template, which is going to be something that I can probably put this in the, see if it goes. Oh, look at there. You guys can see it there. That's just a Word document that's blank. There's a template too. Let's see if that goes. All right. For those people who are live, you'll see this. Everybody who's in Zoom world, I mean, in YouTube world, this will be included in, it will have been included a link to all this in your email. And if you can't figure that out, just email me and we'll figure it all out together. So the business plan is something that I developed a couple of years ago, and it was a way for me to think about, well, when I first started my business, I didn't know how to start, honestly. And I didn't even expect to start a business because my original plan was to start in like a research institute at a university, and I figured they would show me how to do that. Well, that fell through, and so I went out to the Small Business Development Center and I said, "Well, what am I? I need to start up a business. I need to start a business. I don't know how to do it. I have no idea." And so, by the way, you should reach out to your Small Business Development Center if you just don't know what you're doing, and they'll help guide you. They said, "Well, we've got this session coming up on developing business plans," and I thought, well, that's not exactly what I need, but that's probably okay because business planning for a lot of people and business plans people develop oftentimes are to be developed so that you can present them to a funder like a bank, somebody who could give you an investment or an angel investor or something like that. And I didn't need that because I had enough money to start the thing. I didn't know how to create an operation. I didn't know anything about setting up a, business license or um, how to do accounting and things like that. But I did go to this first session because it was available, and I met my first accountant, and she walked me through how you should set up a business. And so I subsequently bought the book, that Business Plan in a Day. Here, we've got this is an old one now. Get it done right, get it done fast. And so it's a kind of it's really more of a handbook where it asks you to reflect on things and think about things, which is a good thing to do. I'm going to give you the template that I gave you. Should have opened it. Um, and it's kind of the same thing. It gives you reflective exercises and things to think about. And so when we do the workshops, we ask people to think about these things. And this is a place for you to place that information if you're interested in it. Um, Everything about the template, which I'm going to pull up in a second, is completely modifiable. You can ignore whole sections of it, but I think it's all good things to think about when you're starting a business. Or if you're in the middle of a process, or if you're in the middle of a change of your business, this is a way to come back to it and think about it. So I'm going to be kind of flipping back and forth with screens here. So let's see here. I'm going to open up the blank document. I know that'll work. You should be able to see this. If you're not looking at it, can somebody come off mute and tell me you don't see it? But I'm assuming you can. So this is the way it's set up as a template so that you can edit it within Microsoft Word and do whatever you want with this. This is the blank version so that everything it just says blank. So it doesn't have text boxes like the other one where you'd select something. The template, when I do it like that, looks exactly the same. You see it comes up, it's new document one, and you actually could select things and it said presented by, and I would type in my name, Matthew Feldman, PhD, just to be impressive, right? Well, I got it, whatever. Company name, and you would put Goshen Consulting. And whatever. And you could say this color scheme is terrible and you could change it because it's all modifiable. It's just something for you to put your thoughts down and give yourself direction. Um, there are sections, and I'm going to go into the details of this, but you'll see kind of key sections. There's information about the company. You see the headers here on the left-hand side. You can talk about your niche or niche, but I say niche. Marketing and sales strategy. These are whole topics that we talked about in the core, in the pre-conference workshops. You could talk about finances and fees. Talk about how you're going to be set up as an operation. Any additional sections that you'd like. And then at the end, you talk about what's your exit strategy, which you should always be thinking about. All right, so since you see this, and you can follow along and have this document open on your computer if you want to, or you can just follow along. I'm going to be hitting the key points of this document back in my PowerPoint presentation and just talking about these things because I think they're all kind of repeated in the PowerPoint. Okay, where are you? Just minimize this. Minimize that. There we go. So just to back on the original story about me creating the business plan, I thought to myself, well, this would be helpful for me to do it, but I don't need to present this to anybody. But then I realized I needed to convince myself that I needed to start a business. And I needed to have kind of one location where I could put everything. And then I realized, well, this isn't just about me because I was married and my partner needed to be brought up to speed on where my thought was because it wasn't just a commitment on myself. It was a commitment by the entire family. It was a commitment by my partner and my children. And as it turns out, even my mother-in-law who lives with us still, and at the time, all of this was a commitment that we would go down this path together to create a new business. Even though it was me doing it, it wasn't about me. It was about the whole family. And so I had a commitment to the family to contribute. And so how is that going to change with the development of a new business? And I felt like I needed to lay that out for myself and then be able to present that to my partner, who is my life partner, but also my business partner, in the way we set things up. So the first kind of topic we've got here is the who are you? What type of business do you want to be? You want to probably lay out that information about the fact that maybe it's evaluation, maybe it's evaluation plus other things you want to do like strategic planning or grant writing. Do you have values? Have you thought about these sorts of things? Do you have a mission? What's that mission? And those are the things you would put in there. This is the foundational stuff. Oftentimes we help other organizations develop these things. And, this is the sort of thing that you can do for yourself. So, interesting stuff. Then you get into this niche idea. And I've talked about this in the past, and you can go and look up the video I talk about niche with the idea of 3 or 4 overlapping circles that you want to understand things that you're good at, things that you enjoy, and where there's a business opportunity, or somebody's going to pay you to do this work so that you have a financially, we're in a market economy, you have a financially stable operation. And perhaps you want to think about this from the Ikigai approach of what does the world need, and perhaps what is my life's purpose, since this becomes kind of what is your business's purpose kind of idea. So that's your niche. And you can see I put this in the topics here. This is where you would describe your customers also. Who are your, I mean, this is your fan club in many ways. Your customers are your fan club. These are the people that will get excited about you. If you don't have customers, you don't have a fan club yet, who would those people be? What do they look like? Where do they hang out? What conferences do they go to? What's their professional associations? How are you going to meet them? So who is your competition? For me at the time, and perhaps even still today, I think a lot of my competition are people who have research skills, primarily oftentimes faculty members or retired educators who frankly don't know anything about program evaluation, and they continue to get a lot of program evaluation work. And honestly, that becomes an opportunity too, for because they get themselves in over their heads, and then that becomes an opportunity for me to take on work. What is it about you that makes you uniquely qualified to pursue this niche? And so these are the things that you want to think about and place into your business document. And this is a kind of your own personal document that you can refer back to and think about and reflect on why you're good at what you do and why you're doing what you're doing. I think this is particularly important right now. Then you can get into your marketing and your sales strategy. I'm going to pull up my notes slide here so I can see it a little better. Do you have a tagline, your simple marketing message? That's oftentimes people will put it in the back of their business cards, or they'll put it underneath their signature on their email. How are you going to develop your network? Who are those people that you want to connect with? And so I was talking about that in the last slide. But how are you going to connect with them? What would you share with them? What are the benefits and drawbacks of connecting with different people? Going to different conferences. I mean, obviously, one of the big drawbacks is the expense of going to those things. If you have to fly somewhere and you have to have a hotel room and things like that. Think about your style. Within your style, you probably want to think about what type of a logo do you have. So you can see the logo I'm wearing right now for Goshen Consulting, and one of our recurring themes in all of our logos is our yellow, what I call the book star, because it's a 8-pointed or 16-pointed, depending on how you look at it, series of books that overlap, and because we have an educational kind of focus and a background, we like the books. We use colors that are a cardinal red and a golden color, and those are actually the same colors that are reflected back in the institution where I received my PhD. And so I use their style guide to help me. And that's a quick shorthand for, I don't know how to develop a style guide. So what colors do they recommend using for us? And so I just kind of use the same approach. Now, I like the colors, and I think they work well in a lot of different settings. Style can go a lot further than that. How are you developing your reports? So we think very hard about very clean, very easy to read reports, and that's one of our values. It's listed up in the first section, and so that's something that is important to us. Let's see, next slide. Okay, here's a big piece, and I think this is important for you to get your head around this stuff and know where you're going with this. The finances and fees question. What is your rate? How does it change with different clients, or does it never change with it? It's always the same rate. How frequently are you updating it? These are the sorts of questions you want to ask yourself and put into a document for you to reference. If you're getting started, what are those startup expenses? What are the things you need to buy that you don't already have? Perhaps it's a computer, like your own. Some people just have work provided computers. They need to purchase a computer. What are some other things? Do you need specific software? And what are those things that are startup expenses? I mean, maybe you need to buy a desk. That's a startup expense. What's in your annual budget? Like software, if you need to get a Zoom license, if you need to develop a website. Once you develop the website, then you have the annual expenses associated with monitoring it, different types of things like that. Who's going to help you coordinate your accounting and your finances? You need to have an accountant. You need to have, so you probably need to have access to a lawyer. And I know these sound like, why would I need that? I can probably just figure it out on my own. At a certain point, you probably, even if it's a small, like drop-in fee sort of a thing, you probably should have somebody that you can reach out to. An accountant and a lawyer, those are the sorts of people that can help answer those questions about your contracts. They can review any specific stipulations. They can help you set one up that is appropriate for you and for the community, the people that you work with, those sorts of things. Do you have a line of credit? Do you have any savings? What do you think you need? A line of credit is effectively like a loan, or it's kind of like literally it's a line of credit, where you can borrow against this at any point. You're paying interest on probably a daily basis, but and then you pay it off, and then you have it there in case you ever need it. When we get into the operations piece, what is your organizational structure? If you're just getting started, you probably don't need to be an LLC or an S corp. You can stay as a sole proprietorship, or what we call a sole prop. Um, you don't need to do a lot of sophisticated things. Do you have any key performance indicators? The key performance indicator for most people is, do I have more money? Am I making more money than I'm spending? Right? That's the basic one. So anyway, and then whatever I talked about your professional assistants with regards to lawyers and accountants, you may also want to think about small business development center, business coaches, or perhaps even the ICTIG. Every month, and I choose a different color. Here we go. And that's something that I would make sure you put in there. The other thing you want to think about is your exit strategy. What happens if you need to end your business? What are those things that need to occur? How will you know when it's time to exit? What happens to your clients if you have some clients and you need to step away? What liabilities do you have? How about employees and those sorts of things? Additional sections that you may want to add in that I didn't necessarily put in there. You may have your own personal logic model. You may have templates that you want to put in here for memorandums of understanding, MOUs, or contracts. I use MOUs when I'm initiating a project with a client where we don't necessarily have a contract yet. They're not necessarily paying me, but contracts are when we're like formally talking about development. Do you have any standard operating procedures? Do you have a plan for how you subcontract, which I think we're going to be talking about that next month in July. Do you want to develop a 5-year plan? Do you want to put something in here about your CV or your resume? So those are things you could put in here. Again, this is effectively design your own document that you can use to reference, particularly if you're in the earliest stages of putting together a business and you just have no idea where to start. Here's a place to start. All these things that I just asked you, put those things in there. So anyway, let's do 5.5 reflections. I like to do 5.5 because there's always, maybe it's just kind of fun. I like to put in something a little extra. I have 5, and then I put in a little extra one there for you. One reflection is, this business planning process can give direction to your business. Gives you a place to start, particularly when you don't know where to start. It gives you direction. Here's who I'm going to go talk to. Here's how much it's going to cost me. Here's what I'm about with values, those sorts of things. This may only be a private internal document. You're probably not going to publish this for everybody to see. It is a consolidated document that puts all your thoughts together about your business. It may very well be, and honestly, for me, it hasn't been. It should probably be a living document. In many ways, our business plan is developed into a series of different documents in a lot of different places as Goshen Consulting has grown. But it can be a single document that you go to and you update on a regular basis, and I think that's a good idea. I can tell you, in my first couple of years, I kept going back to it on a regular basis to reference it and pull things out of it because I was like, that was a really good idea. It was nice because I had this nice language about a competency statement about what Goshen, at the time I called it Goshen Education Consulting, what Goshen Education Consulting was about. And I would cut and paste that directly into proposals. And so I knew that was a place I could always go and look for that. Now you're 5.5, and it's a good way to describe yourself to others. All right, so we're gonna stop here and we're gonna stop the recording in just a second. I wanna make sure you see the topics that are coming up. I just talked about this before I started the recording with everybody who's here live. Sarah Williams Lang will be here next week to talk about asset mapping. We're gonna take the week off for Juneteenth. We'll be back with Jason Ravitz. He's gonna be talking about decision making with the decision makers. Crazy idea. Then we'll take another holiday break because that's how we are in the summer. And then we'll do a core topic on insurance, and then definitely come back on July 17th for Amelia Combs' dashboard session. That is a great session. I'm sure it will be because she's been on before, most popular session of 2024. And I'm personally very interested in Scott's pros and cons of co-owning your business, which is a further development of what he talked about with our sessions, our Meet the Pros session last winter, I think in December. And because I co-own a business, so I have a lot of interest in this topic. Okay, so if you're here, I encourage you to stick around. If you're on YouTube land, I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.